All right, friends, I was blown away by the questions that you guys ended up asking me. And if you went on the community chat, I just put a question out there, like, what kind of questions do you have about minimalism or me or any of my videos or anything I've talked about? And I had some really great questions. So we're gonna go over some of those answers that you guys are dying to know. And I'm going to be wrapping my gifts because my daughter is coming home any minute now. And I need to make sure that this is done. I've kept putting it off forever. So I'm gonna wrap a few gifts and we're gonna just chit chat. All right, before I start this, I will preface that do not judge me by my wrapping paper skills because I have zero. I am just going to attempt to do this as quick as possible. But all right, so let's start with one of the first questions that I thought was awesome. What does your storage area look like and how do you store your holiday and seasonal decor? And as it is Christmas right now, New Year's is right around the corner, I thought that was a great question to ask. So when it comes to actually storing the things that are like seasonal, clothing and everything else, clothing wise, the only clothes we keep and store are my daughter's. If she gets hand-me-downs that I really want to keep, I will keep them for the following year. And they actually just stay in her room in a big basket on top of her high shelf. And so that kind of makes me keep only the things that I really like because it's not a huge basket. But other than that, when it comes to holiday stuff, sorry, something's in my eye. Okay, when it comes to holiday storage, we have two boxes for that. One is small and it's like one of those under bed boxes. Right now it is under my bed, but usually we keep it in the very small attic. It is really weird. It's because we have a tri-level. We have this like weird room that would actually go over our living room, our weird attic space that would actually go over our living room. And so that's where we keep that. We also have a big red bin that we keep a few blow up things we have for Halloween because that's my favorite holiday. And then we have a turkey we keep in there as our Thanksgiving decoration, and then any of our bigger Christmas stuff. So I've talked about in other videos the houses that we have from my mother-in-law that I adore. They're so pretty and they light up our front window. I think it's just gorgeous. And so those will go in there because they are bigger. And that's all we need. We don't keep anything else outside. For Christmas, we don't have any big blow-ups or anything like that. So Christmas, we really just decorate the inside of our house. And yeah, so if you want me to expand on that, then write me another message below in the comments and I will. But for holiday stuff, we just have the two bins and we keep it like that. All right, so let's see. All right, so another question that I got asked was, how long did it take you to get to the point where you felt like you were at a level of maintaining minimalism? And that is kind of a difficult question to answer, but I would say probably I started thinking a lot more seriously about this maybe a year ago. When I started doing this YouTube channel, I guess that was a little over a year ago now, like a year and a half ago. I really started thinking about different ways that I could become more minimal, living more intentionally. And I think really doing this YouTube channel actually really helped me to take what I was doing, but like ramp it up a lot more. So it probably took me about 2.5 years to get to the point where I started just maintaining. And I mean, I think the hard thing was that I am not a professional organizer. I think organizing really overwhelmed me, like not knowing what container to use and feeling like I was always doing it wrong. And when I finally figured out that like if I take a lot of things away, organizing is a lot easier. So for someone like me that visually it's just hard for me to figure out what should go where, the moment that I really started getting serious about decluttering was when I was able to start maintaining and not having to do huge declutters. Now, every once in a while, I'll go through like a kick and I'll just like be tired of some things I have and really declutter. So I continue to do declutters, and I'm constantly doing small declutters just throughout my life, throughout my day. You know, when you run out of something or a product is gone, I will declutter it. And, you know, when my daughter outgrows things, I'll declutter it. So when you have children, I think you probably are decluttering even more, but it doesn't feel as weighted, as heavy, I guess, if you could call it that. Like I used to feel when I just felt like I had to do these massive declutters with these huge bags of stuff. So probably I would say it took me 2 to 2.5 years. There we go. Beautiful, right? Okay, let's go to the next question. So the next person said, I've been on a minimalist journey for several years and still have not reached the feeling that my house is minimal enough. Decluttering was easy at the beginning, but now it's getting harder and harder to declutter. I get it. I'm there for you. Totally understand. Even when I take out a couple of big boxes, I can't see any difference before and after. Feeling desperate need for a more significant shift in decluttering process. There are only 3 of us in our small apartment, and I'm not a fancy cook, me either. And I don't host big parties, same. Not into sports, same. Sound like me. But yet we have a pretty good amount of stuff which we actually use and like. What questions to ask myself and how to minimize stuff to the point of minimalism. So I will preface with, if you look around your house and you feel like you're using everything, that everything has a purpose, then I think you've hit that. I think you are at minimalism. You know, you either are finding joy in that item and so that has value, or it's something that you're going to be using and you use at least what you feel like is enough, you know, more than maybe, I don't know, like, I feel like what questions to ask myself and how to minimize stuff to the point of minimalism. So I think what I would start thinking about is, which I got my daughter this magnetic picture board. I'm so excited about this. This is gonna be awesome. We're gonna take this on our trip to Italy. But I think the things that really helped me when I felt stuck was when I really started experimenting on this channel. Like, I've done box parties, I've done where I lived with like 100 of my own belongings. I've done a lot of experiments, and so I think, you know, questioning yourself is really helpful. Like questioning, if this was to just implode and be gone, what would I do? Would I go out and buy it again? Would I not? I think that always really helps me to think, is this something that I really need? If it, you know, if it was to disappear, would I go get it again? And also, I think doing a lot of experiments, really testing different things and seeing if it feels right. Like when I first started, I didn't know anything about all these experiments people talk about, but I knew that if I took something out of that area and put it where I could like hide it, if I didn't go back to it, it made sense for me to get rid of it. So that is like, I think the basis, the core of knowing if you're really gonna want something or not, is getting rid of it. Is hiding it from yourself and then knowing that then you feel comfortable getting rid of it. So asking yourself, so really I think even more, so I feel like even more than questioning, if you really start experimenting more and more with yourself and making yourself uncomfortable, trying, like they have the 30-day declutter where you get rid of that amount of thing every day. I mean, trying things that are really going to push you outside of your normal box will, I think, shake things up a little bit for you and your household, and seeing if your family will go along with you. I think that would be great too. Mine doesn't always, and that's okay. And then I'll just focus on my own stuff. But I do think it's a fun way to get, you know, your family together and really start thinking about the vision you have for your house, what you want it to look like at the end. All right, so I also have, I also got a question about how minimalism has positively impacted me and my life. And I think in the beginning, it was just wanting to save money, wanting to not have to keep spending, and wanting a feeling of control that I thought I had completely lost, which I really had completely lost. A sense of control over, like, I can go in any store and not buy something. I felt like every time I went outside the door, it cost me $100. Like, it was exhausting. Every time I had to leave the house, it cost me $50 to $100. And I'm just like, this cannot sustain. Like, I can't sustain that amount of spending. And then I'd have all these things coming in, and then the things would overwhelm me. Even if they were cheap, they would start to overwhelm me, and I'd feel like, oh my God, like, where am I supposed to put all this stuff now, even if I wanted it? I used to have things with price tags on them forever that I just would forget about in my closet and literally couldn't really find them anyway. So it was becoming so stressful that the first big thing that positively impacted me was being able to test out my self-control. So being able to go into a store and saying, yes, I really want this, but I'm not allowed to buy it. Like, it's not on my list. I'm not allowed to buy it. And that was so hard for me. Like, I was definitely a shopaholic. If I could identify myself as anything, it would have been that. And I knew it, but I still had like very little control over it, which was so frustrating at that time. But the more often that I took control, the more often that it became something the more often it became second nature. And so, I still make mistakes. I was just thinking about the other day, I bought a pair of sunglasses because one of mine just doesn't feel very good. And I like having two pairs of sunglasses, one for my car and one for my husband's. And so I was like, yeah, I happen to be looking for something else for my husband that I needed to get him. And I was like, okay, well, I like these. I'm going to get them. And I bought them. And then afterwards, I just felt like, even though I was sort of thinking about getting them, I didn't need them. I didn't take a lot of time to process whether I even really liked this kind of sunglasses. And I just had that like sinking feeling like this was a bad choice. And, so even though I've been a minimalist or living a more simple life for a while now, we still make mistakes. We still buy things we shouldn't have. But you know what? Instead of just keeping it, I went back the next day and I returned it. And they said, what was wrong with it? Nothing's wrong with it, except for that I needed to take more time to think about, do I really need another pair? And if I do, I really want to find a pair that I really like, not just buy the first pair that I see. It's exactly what I've been trying to teach Carrie Ann. And we live in such a consumer-driven environment, society, that, I get sucked into it every once in a while too. But I think just the knowledge that I have a power to stop myself, or I have the power to fix my problems, like when I buy things I shouldn't, it just, I don't know. That's probably one of the most positive impacts that I've had. And it really gives me a sense that like I'm in control of my own life. All right, let's finish this. Let's sucker up. All right, friends. So I'm going to look at the list and I'm going to answer one more question because I could talk about this forever. And I really enjoyed just how you guys have sent me these questions, and it got me thinking again about things that I hadn't thought about in a long time. So this is a good one. It says, how do you decide what items or possessions are essential and what to let go of? So I feel like that's a great question. How do you figure out what is essential? When you have a million things around your house, how do you figure out what you need to keep and what to let go of? And I think what I did when I first started out is I really just started with the things that, one, I had full possession over myself, like my clothes or my shoes. And so I felt the autonomy to get rid of anything of those things that I wanted without having to ask or whatever with anyone else in my family. So starting with things that are your own and then figuring out if they're essential. I feel like there's there's so many different ways of testing that out. I mean, I talked about the different kinds of experiments that I've tried. And even to this day, though, I feel like I don't have a lot to declutter. I think they're so healthy and fun to do things like experiments, like the 30-day challenge, like the box party, like hiding things from yourself and seeing if you remember them. I mean, there's a million things that you can try. And that really shows you what is your essential. You know, I used to have like 17 sweaters and I thought that was essential. So everyone is in a different place in their life, and I can never tell anyone what is essential for them or not. But what I will say is that I feel like a lot of us walk around feeling the need to have the right outfit for every occasion, have the right shoes for every occasion that could possibly happen. And we're keeping so many things that in the scheme of them are just making our house look like a storage unit as opposed to our own home, and making it harder for us to clean, more laundry. I mean, there are so many things that I've gotten rid of for the pure aspect that it just made my life a little bit easier. Like I've talked about before that I got rid of our Instapot, and there's nothing essentially wrong with the Instapot, but I kept it because of that just in case in my brain. And I kept it for so long, just in case I would need it. And knowing there's like a million recipes that maybe I'm gonna change my way of cooking and I'm gonna want it, and it's kind of expensive. So, you know, I shouldn't just get rid of it because, you know, what if I can't afford it again? It was just like a million silly little things. But when it came down to it, it's not essential for me. It's not the way that I like to cook. And I never used it or took it out of the cabinets. And so even if other people are telling you that something is essential, you have to kind of test it out yourself. Think about the last 6 months of your life in your house. And when you're looking at an object in the last 6 months, have I used this object? Is it something that I keep out and enjoy? Is it something that I wear for a season and I wear it all the time during that season so it's worth it? Or can I flex it into several different seasons? So just thinking about, is it something that I remember? That, you know, if I was to run into our house and have to grab as many possessions as possible, would this be one of them? And if not, then probably not essential. You know, some of us would run in and grab photographs. Some of us would run in and grab our phone. Some of us would run in and grab our animals. And those are the things that you can first think of in your head. Those are the essential ones. Now, there's a burning house. Those are the essential things that you're gonna run in and grab, and you're not gonna worry about the 17 pairs of different kinds of jeans that you have, because you know those were not that important. For whatever reason, you felt the need to have them, but they weren't that important. All right, guys, so I am pretty much done with my Christmas wrapping, and it has been such a pleasure to talk to you as normal. And if you enjoy learning about minimalism or decluttering, I am going to be back from Italy. By the time this one comes out, I'm going to be on a plane leaving, and I'll be back in 2 weeks, but there will be more videos coming out. I've worked really hard to make sure that there are some coming out, and so I hope you enjoy them, and I will see you when I get back.